Welcome back to the Transformational Storyteller course, where we are changing your stories to change your life. I want to commend you for doing the first part, the first video, which was all about awareness. We're moving forward into talking about acceptance and beginning to radically accept yourself. I know there are a lot of people out there today talk about self-love, and my own experience, both in my life and in working with clients, it has been that sometimes, self-love can be elusive, but self-acceptance and acceptance of where we are is essential, it's integral, and it's far more accessible. So we're going to start there with self-acceptance. Before we move into this current step and this current stage, I just want to make sure that you've done all of the writing assignments from the first video, the first segment of this course, because know that these segments build on each other. So make sure that you've done the first course in its entirety, or the first part rather of the first course in its entirety, that you did your take-home assignment and listened to your song and did some reflective writing about that. So if you haven't done those things, maybe stop the video now and then go back to the first video, go through that, and come and meet up with me again and meet up with yourself again. And if you have done all that, well then congratulations to you. I commend you on how far you've already come, and let's continue forward. So yeah, I want to make sure that you have a pen and something to write with for what we're going to be doing next, which is an exercise on acceptance. And we're going to be doing two exercises at once. I'll give you time to sort of do them both together, but I want you to write at the top of the page what I cannot accept about myself. So that's one thing, what I cannot accept about myself. And then another thing to write at the top of the page is what I cannot accept about my circumstances, or some people might prefer about my life. So what I cannot accept about myself and what I cannot accept about my circumstances / my life. And I find that the reason that I kind of posed the prompt in this way is that we all have things that we carry with us, stories that we tell ourselves about, I'll be happy when, right? So, I'll be happy when I lose 10 pounds. I'll be happy when I find the love of my life. I'll be happy when I get a new job, right? So we're all carrying these beliefs about the things that we think stand in the way of us being happy, being fulfilled, living the lives that we have. And I find that before we can even move into acceptance, we have to first become aware of the things that we believe are unacceptable about ourselves or our circumstances. So in just a moment, I'm going to invite you to pause this video and give yourself about 5 to 10 minutes to write about all the things about yourself and all the things about your life or your circumstances that you feel that you cannot accept, that you feel like, these things are unacceptable about you. And I just want to remind you that nobody is looking at this but you, nobody is reading it but you. So really do yourself a favor, get very honest with yourself and very specific. So whatever it is that you believe is unlovable, unacceptable, not okay, if people really knew it, they wouldn't love you. It's okay. You're not going to stay stuck in this place, but I really want you to get clear on what beliefs you're holding about the things that are unacceptable about yourself or your life. So I'm going to invite you to be brave, be fearless, be self-searching, pause this video for about 5 to 10 minutes, and write down everything that you can think of that you find unacceptable about yourself and your life. And I'll see you after you've done that. Well, I'm not sure if congratulations is the right thing to say at the end of that exercise, because I know that often people will have a lot of different experiences about that writing exercise. Some people will see their thoughts in black and white and realize that, oh, like, it's actually not true. It's just things I've been telling myself. Other people will write down what they find unacceptable about themselves and feel like it's more true. However you're feeling, know that feelings are not the determinant of outcomes, but actions are. And and what we do with our feelings is really the most important thing. So congratulations on taking the action to write down the things that you've been avoiding looking at, or maybe you've been looking at so much so that you're stuck in this endless loop, this endless cycle of self-hatred or negativity or depression or wherever you are. Just writing it down really helps to kind of put parameters on things, to frame these things so that you can then become empowered to move through them and move out of them. And no matter what you feel is unacceptable about yourself, I want to encourage you to acknowledge that you wouldn't be where you are today if not for the stories and the beliefs that you've carried with you from the past. And it's those beliefs, not you, that are the problem. So I want to say that again. It's the beliefs that are the problem. It's the beliefs that are unacceptable. It's the beliefs that are keeping you stuck. It's not anything endemic to you as a person, because we are all, as people, beautiful and valuable, and we have gifts and we have talents and we have unlimited potential. And sometimes the stories that we've been telling ourselves have been keeping us stuck. So I want you to look at what you've written, all the things about yourself and your life that you have just determined are completely unacceptable. And I want you to identify just one that is really getting in your way. One that if you were to feel different about that belief, things would change and shift for you. So some examples might be, if you feel like what's unacceptable about me is I'm too fat, or I don't make enough money, or I'm too young or too old or too, fill in the blank, right? But something that you feel, this is unacceptable about me, unacceptable about myself. And I'll share with you that, it's amazing to me how I have worked with many, many clients, and often when they are able to shift out of maybe one or two self-limiting beliefs, their whole life opens up. So really just think about, okay, what would be a first domino? Like, what's a thing that if you were to accept it about yourself, even if you feel in this moment like it's completely unacceptable, but if you were to accept it, your self-esteem would just improve dramatically. So I want you to identify just one unacceptable thing, one thing that you've decided is unacceptable about yourself. And you can circle it, you can star it, you can underline it, you can write it, below the paragraph that you've just written. And when you've identified that, we don't have to come at it from a place of judgment, even if you believe that it is true that this thing is unacceptable about yourself. I want you to just dwell in the realm of possibility with me for a moment. And so look at that, whatever you've identified as the biggest thing for you, the thing most in need of change, or the thing you're most resistant to changing. And I want you to ask yourself, if you were to accept that thing about you or about your life, some people maybe it's that they're single, and they don't want to be. Or I've worked with people who have been unable to have children and, and for whatever reason. And that's something that really is getting in their way. They feel like they can't be happy until they have a child. Or, I've worked with people who have a difficult health diagnosis and have felt like, I won't be able to experience the joy of life until I get rid of whatever this thing is, that I'm harboring in my body, or this illness, this diagnosis. So whatever it is that is coming up for you, know that no matter how seemingly small or how significant, it is all acceptable. That doesn't mean you have to want it necessarily, but the first step to really shifting is to be able to just accept where you are. So now that you've identified the thing that you find unacceptable about yourself or your life, I'm going to ask you to invite yourself to imagine what would change for you if you could accept that, if you did accept that. So whatever it is, whether it's, your body or your life circumstances or your economic circumstances or, whatever, I want you to just get really clear on what would change, and sometimes nothing external would change, but what would change might be, if you really accepted where you are in your life, it might open you up to being more willing to take chances or take risks, or if you accepted something that you imagine to be unacceptable about yourself physically, maybe you would go out more, or maybe you would date more or engage more with life, or if you were to accept a difficult health diagnosis, maybe you'd have more ease around the treatment. So again, there's no one size fits all answer, but there is your answer. And for yourself, if you take the time to go inward, what will open up for you? What could open up for you if you were to radically accept whatever you feel to be unacceptable? So in a moment, I'm going to ask you to pause this video and take about 5 or 10 minutes to just let your mind roam, let it wander, let your imagination flow, and ask yourself what your life could look like if you were to not change this thing about yourself, but accept it and embrace it and be grateful for it. So pause this video and take a moment to have fun with imagining what could open up for you if you were to accept this thing that, for whatever reason, you've decided is unacceptable. And I'll see you when you get back. Great, welcome back. I hope that you had some inner openings or some inner awarenesses of what could be possible if you were to accept yourself, accept your life. And I want to be clear that acceptance doesn't mean staying where you are and staying stuck. But I'll give an example of how change becomes possible when we can operate from a place of acceptance and love. And I think a really clear example of this, it often comes up when I'm working with people who are struggling to break through a weight loss plateau, or are struggling with body stuff, because I think those results tend to be very tangible, whereas some other results are more like emotional results or metaphysical results, but this is one that's very clear. So I've worked with many, many, many clients who tell themselves that, I'll love and accept my body when I meet this goal, whatever the goal is, a weight loss goal or a fitness goal or, what have you. Like, I will love and accept my body when I reach this, fill in the blank, whatever that is. And what I find is that it's actually their lack of acceptance and love of their body that is getting in the way of them being able to reach whatever their goal is. Because imagine going through life telling yourself, I hate my body is a piece of garbage, I'm this, I'm that, I'm not good enough in this way. Like, that is not very motivating to take care of your body if you feel like your body is to blame, you feel like your body is unacceptable, unlovable. Versus someone who says, you know what, I'm going to accept where my body is. I'm going to embrace my body as it is. Well, what opens up in those instances again and again and again, and I've seen it thousands of times, I've seen it hundreds of times, is when people say, okay, I'm gonna love and accept my body and embrace it, well, naturally they start feeding themselves better, making healthier choices. They start drinking more water. They start getting better sleep, going for massages, all the things that end up resulting in them reaching their original goals or getting very, very close to their original goals. And so, really, it's somewhat counterintuitive, but once we start talking about it, it makes so much sense that if you're holding the beliefs that have yielded the result that leads you to feel like, oh, this is unlovable or unacceptable, if you continue holding those beliefs, you're going to continue manifesting those same results that you are desperate to change. So really, acceptance is the beginning of being willing to make the shifts that you ultimately want to make anyways and are committed to. So now that you've looked at what could become possible for you, what can open up if you maybe accept something about yourself that you previously thought was unacceptable, I want you to write down a radical statement of self-acceptance and affirmation. And so what that might look like is, I choose to accept blank. So I want you to go back to the thing about yourself that you thought, or your life that was unacceptable. And I want you to write the sentence, I choose to accept, and then fill that in. So whatever it is, the shape and size of my body, my diagnosis, the trauma of my past, the possibilities are endless, but write down, I choose to accept blank. Okay. And now that you've done that, this is really an affirmation that you're going to want to carry with you between this video and the next video, and repeat to yourself as many times as you possibly can, and especially because you've got years of conditioning, months, weeks, years, days of conditioning yourself not to accept this thing about yourself. Anytime that a negative thought pops into your mind, especially a negative thought around whatever you haven't been accepting and you're now choosing to accept, I want you to say, I choose to accept blank, whatever you've determined for yourself. And this works especially well if we can say it out loud. If you're around people, that might not always be the best idea, so maybe you can say it to yourself in your head. But if you're by yourself, whether you're driving in the car or just at your house or wherever, out on a walk, I want you to say it out loud to yourself. I choose to accept blank. And I'd like you to do that at least 10 times a day. Write it on your mirror, write it on a Post-it, and choosing to accept whatever it is that you feel is unacceptable is going to open up endless possibilities. You can't even imagine how much love is available to you and how much change. So this is something that I often will have to reassure people, is that, they feel like, well, but if I accept this thing, it means that I'll never change it, I'll never evolve beyond it. No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that if you accept the things that feel unacceptable, you are empowering yourself to embrace you. And the more you embrace yourself, the more willing you are to take the steps to move into the life that you deserve to live, the life that you want to live, the life of your dreams. And so because I am a huge fan of music, and music absolutely has been proven to influence mood and behavior, I want you to choose your self-accepting and self-acceptance anthem. So pick a song that works really well, that lights you up inside, that makes you feel like, you are unstoppable, you can accept yourself. For me, it's usually something by Beyonce. But again, just find a song or a singer who for you conveys a message of self-acceptance. And at the same time as you are, working to embed these new affirmations, this new affirmation into yourself, I also want you to listen to this song, this self-acceptance anthem. And after you've done that, for at least 10 times, but preferably give yourself a couple of days in between this video and the next video, I want you to come back and we'll talk about moving forward into action. But remember that giving yourself a little more time and acceptance is going to better equip you to move forward into action. So the action that you can take between now and when you watch the next video is to say those affirmations, say them as often as you can, the more the better, and listen to your self-acceptance song, your self-acceptance anthem, and let yourself really feel that you are acceptable and lovable just as you are. And I can't wait to see you in the next video.